So let's take a look at the Gotham, which turned out to be, for my money, a pretty darn good Derby prep since the Fountain of Youth just totally, the field fell apart. All these scratches really starting to be bothersome, and I don't know if it's these guys playing liar's poker or what they're doing, but particularly for Locked, he better run soon, better run the Tampa Bay Derby or somewhere, because if he doesn't, then I don't think we're going to see him in the Derby. It'd be highly unlikely, in my opinion. But anyway, let's take a look at the Gotham. See a pretty level break. The one thing noteworthy is Facenda basically threw in the towel early, and I think Chris Griffith forgot that he was even in the race because he said Trailer was eliminated and not Facenda. So anyway, you see the horses we thought would be on the engine were Maximus Meridius, who we thought was going to run a pretty good one, and El Grande O, just a touch. Deterministic was a little closer than expected, and really as soon as I saw that, I had a feeling we were going to get a good race out of him. Deposition as well ran a little better than I thought he would. He has no early speed, and he doesn't really have any kick, and really hard for him to win a race at this distance, in my opinion, but he didn't do too bad. And we see Light Line and Eliminate in the back. Any horse in the back was pretty much doomed in this one. And Bergen really just didn't run a lick. I guess he just didn't like the mud. I don't know what it was, but he was out of this race pretty quickly. So we go back up to the leaders, and you see them all carried way out, about 7 wide, to catch the rail. Wasn't the place to be. And El Grande, this was his type of race, one-turn mile, and he ran a good race, but it wasn't good enough. You see Deterministic, who was the star of the show, split the wickets. Nice strong close, just a touch. Ran a pretty good one too, and Maximus Meridius hung in there. So that was a pretty good. I thought it was a pretty exciting race. What a comeback for Deterministic. So if we grade this one out, obviously Connate and Slider get incompletes because they scratched out of it. But we'll go through them. Maximus Meridius, I thought, for his first time at a mile. And his first time in a stakes race, I thought ran a pretty darn good race. You do have to wonder if it was mud assisted, but I don't know. I don't think so. I think he just ran a really solid race. I don't know if that's enough evidence that he will be a Derby trail contender from here, but anyway, it was he ran a good race, and he fought the good fight and hung in there. So who knows? Maybe we'll see something more out of him. Deterministic certainly was the star of the show after that long a layoff in your second career start to come out and win a Grade 3. Admittedly was kind of a JV field, not the greatest, but he did answer the bell, and that was the big thing. It's always good to see when a horse in his maiden is way back, and then in his next start is further up. So I think that he's certainly on the improve and has certainly shown from his maiden win to this one that he definitely has some talent. So let's see how he can do in the Wood Memorial, wherever they send him next. But certainly one to watch. Probably out of this race, I'd say is the one that is a keeper on the Derby trail. I don't know about any of the others, really. Facenda obviously is an F because he pretty much gave up, didn't like the mud right from the get-go. Deposition gets a C+. I don't think he's a Derby contender at all. He just doesn't have enough speed, but he did, I think, show some improvement and had a little bit of run late, so we'll give him a C+. Air Cab was up there a little early and fell right back, and he's just not good enough, so he gets a D. El Grande O basically had the race that he wants, a one-turn mile, and he did what he always seems to do. He gets into contention, he gets the lead for a little while, and then he can't quite hold it. So very similar to Arctic Arrogance from last year. So I think that's probably the best chance he would have to win a race on the Derby trail, in my opinion, and he didn't do it. So he'll get a B- because he did run a pretty good race, but again, that's in his wheelhouse, and he didn't do better than third. So I don't know, not too good. Bergen, I think, just didn't like the mud. or what it was. Just didn't like the kickback. I don't know, but really disappointing effort. May have a little bit more to offer on a drier track in the Wood Memorial. We'll see what Brad Cox does with him, or if he moves him down to the Jeff Ruby or something like that. We'll see. But really disappointing effort. No good at all. Same with Eliminate. Eliminate made a little bit of a run on the backstretch, but I think any horse who was in the rear really was compromised by the mud and by the conditions. So a little bit of a pass, maybe, but I just didn't like that race at all. He just didn't show any heart whatsoever. Conversely, Just a Touch did better than I thought. I thought ran a really credible second. Particularly for the second career start. Looks like this one may have some talent. It was a little better than I thought, perhaps. So we'll keep an eye on Just a Touch, and we'll see what Brad Cox does with him. Light Line pretty much does what we sort of expected. He's just not good enough, and he tried to make a little bit of a run from the back, and again, it just didn't. It flattened right out. I don't like that horse, and I haven't liked him for a while, and I just don't think he's any good, so he's a scrap for me. Capital Idea, I didn't think did badly. If you consider that the being in the back was not the place to be, I thought he made a pretty good run later in the stretch. Certainly wasn't good enough, not enough to factor, but it is early on, and showed me that maybe this is a horse with a little bit of time can do better. I don't think he's necessarily a Derby contender right now, but maybe one to think about in the future. So what do we know from this race? Deterministic is one that I think will definitely want 2 turns, and I thought this was a good tune-up. So we'll see. The Wood Memorial generally class-wise doesn't come up entirely strong. So maybe that'll be a good opportunity for Deterministic to get into the Derby. With the point situation being the way it is, he may be in already. You don't know. But I think he's a sleeper, and maybe one we want to keep an eye on. Like the stride, nice big stride. And I think really he's the one that we'll be looking at, and he just may make the Derby top 20 based off that effort, given the layoff and given the circumstances. So a pretty good race. We don't know, but the mud certainly makes it hard to evaluate, give you true evaluation. But anyway, I think Deterministic showed that maybe he's one we ought to think about in the future.